Ukraine caught Russia processing 5.2 million tons of oil at night. What happened next was devastating.
December 17, 2025, just after midnight, Slavyansk on Cuban, southern Russia. The city sleeps, but high above something moves through the darkness. Small, silent, deadly. At the Slavyansk oil refinery, night shift workers monitor the machinery. The facility hums with activity. 5.2 million tons of crude oil processed every year. Then the sky erupts. Explosions tear through the refinery complex. Flames shoot hundreds of feet into the air. Workers scramble for cover. The heat is intense. The smoke billows black against the night sky. Ukrainian drones have found their target, and this strike has been months in the making. But here's the question. Why did Ukraine wait? Why let this refinery run at full capacity for so long? Why strike now? The answer reveals something brilliant about modern warfare, something most people never see. Let's rewind to understand what just happened in Krasnodar, because this wasn't just another drone strike. This was strategic patience at its finest. The Slavyansk oil refinery sits in Krasnodar Krai, southern Russia, about 200 kilometers from the front lines, close enough to matter, far enough to feel safe. This isn't some small operation. We're talking about a major industrial facility, processing capacity of 5.2 million tons annually. That's 9% of all oil refining in Russia's entire southern federal district. Every day, this refinery churns out fuel products: diesel, gasoline, aviation, kerosene. And where does it all go? Straight to the Russian military machine. This refinery wasn't just making money for Russia, it was keeping the war going. And Ukraine knew it. Ukrainian intelligence had been watching this facility for months. They knew the capacity, they knew the output, they knew exactly how much fuel was reaching Russian forces. But they didn't strike immediately, and that's where the strategy gets interesting. See, the Slavyansk refinery had been hit before. Back in April and May of 2024, Ukrainian drones struck the facility. Operations stopped. The machinery went silent. Moscow scrambled to repair the damage. It took months. Engineers worked around the clock. Parts were shipped in from across Russia. Security was doubled, then tripled. Russia wasn't going to let this happen again. By early 2025, the refinery was back online. Production ramped up. Output increased. The fuel started flowing again to Russian forces. And Ukraine watched, and they waited. Why? Because hitting a refinery that's already damaged means limited impact. But waiting for it to reach full production, waiting for Russia to invest millions in repairs, waiting for all those fuel tanks to fill up. That's when a strike really hurts. So through the spring and summer of 2025, the Slavyansk refinery operated at capacity. Russian officials celebrated. Production numbers looked good. Military fuel supplies remained steady. Meanwhile, Ukrainian drone operators trained. New flight paths were mapped, timing was calculated, intelligence gathered every detail, entry points, security rotations, vulnerable infrastructure. The refinery became a focus, but not the only one. Ukraine was hitting oil infrastructure across Russia. The Tuapse refinery, the Afipsky facility, oil depots in multiple regions. Each strike was different. Each required unique planning, but they all shared one goal: destroy Russia's ability to fuel its war machine. Energy infrastructure had become Ukraine's priority target, and for good reason. Russia's economy runs on oil and gas exports. Those exports fund the military, those exports buy weapons, those exports keep the invasion going. Cut the oil production, you cut the funding. Cut the refining capacity, you cut the fuel supply. It's economic warfare combined with military strategy. But Moscow wasn't blind to this. Russia knew Ukraine was targeting refineries. Air defenses were upgraded, more radar systems installed, drone detection equipment deployed. The Russians claimed their systems could intercept anything. Their official statements bragged about shooting down dozens of Ukrainian drones every night. Yet somehow drones kept getting through, refineries kept burning, oil depots kept exploding. Because Ukraine had learned something crucial. Russian air defenses had gaps, time windows when coverage was thinner, routes where detection was harder. And Ukrainian drones had evolved. Longer range, better navigation, harder to track. These weren't basic commercial drones anymore. These were sophisticated military systems designed for one purpose: deep strikes into Russian territory. The night of December 16th arrived. Ukrainian operators prepared the mission. Drones were loaded, flight paths programmed, targets confirmed. Multiple drones would launch, some were decoys, others carried real payloads. The strategy was simple but effective: overwhelm the defenses, make them choose what to intercept. Around midnight, the drones took off. They flew low, hugging the terrain, avoiding radar detection where possible. As they crossed into Russian airspace, alarms started going off. Russian air defense units scrambled. Operators tracked incoming threats on their screens. The Russian Defense Ministry would later claim they shot down 31 drones over Krasnodar that night. Maybe they did, but it didn't matter. Because the ones that mattered got through. At the Slavyansk refinery, the first explosion came without warning. Then another. Then another. Ukrainian drones slammed into critical infrastructure. Fire erupted instantly. These weren't small fires. These were industrial explosions. Fuel tanks ignited. Processing units burst into flames. The heat was so intense that residents reported seeing the glow from miles away. Videos appeared on social media within minutes. Flames shooting into the night sky. Black smoke billowing. Local residents filming from their windows. Emergency services rushed to the scene. But what could they do? This was an active refinery engulfed in flames. Getting close meant risking more explosions. The damage was immediate and severe. Processing equipment destroyed, storage tanks compromised, pipeline connections severed. Hours later, Krasnodar regional authorities confirmed the attack. They tried to downplay it, claimed it was just infrastructure damage, said falling debris caused minor fires. But the satellite images told a different story. The thermal signatures showed massive fires. The smoke plumes were visible from space. And there was more. The strike damaged 2 high-voltage power lines feeding the refinery. Over 38,000 people lost electricity. By morning, 13,000 were still in the dark. The refinery went silent. Production stopped completely. All that fuel that was supposed to reach Russian forces, gone. All those military supplies that depended on this facility, cut off. But Ukraine wasn't done. The same night, drones hit the Nikolaevskaya oil depot in Rostov region. A storage tank destroyed, a river vessel damaged, more fuel supplies eliminated. And that's just what was confirmed. Reports came in of strikes on military ammunition depots, electronic warfare stations destroyed, radar installations hit. This wasn't a single drone strike. This was a coordinated campaign across multiple regions, a massive operation designed to cripple Russian logistics in the south. The morning after, Ukrainian officials confirmed their role. The General Staff released a statement. Defense Forces units used deep strike weapons to strike infrastructure at the Slavyansk oil refinery. They specified the facility's capacity, 5.2 million tons per year. They noted its role in supplying Russian forces. They made it clear. This was a legitimate military target. And they were right. Under international law, military logistics and fuel supplies are valid targets during war. Russia uses this refinery to fuel its invasion. That makes it part of the military infrastructure. The impact was immediate. Russian military units in the south suddenly faced fuel shortages. Supply convoys had to find alternative sources. Operations were disrupted. But the bigger impact is long-term. Repairing this refinery will take months, maybe longer. Russia will have to divert resources. Engineers, equipment, money. All while Ukraine continues hitting other facilities. The Afipsky refinery, the Tuapse plant, oil depots across multiple regions. It's a strategy of constant pressure. Hit them where it hurts. Make them spend resources on defense and repair, keep them off balance. And it's working. Russian oil production is down. Refining capacity is reduced. Export revenues are falling. The economic pressure is building. Some people question this strategy. Why hit economic targets? Why not focus purely on military assets? But that's missing the point. In modern warfare, economics and military capability are inseparable. Russia funds its military through energy exports. It fuels its tanks through domestic refineries. Cut the energy infrastructure, you weaken the military capability. It's that simple. And Ukraine is demonstrating something else. Smaller nations can fight back against larger aggressors, not by matching them tank for tank, but by using technology and strategy. Drones cost a fraction of what a refinery costs. A successful strike can eliminate millions of dollars in infrastructure and production. The math works in Ukraine's favor. Russia knows this too. That's why they're desperately trying to improve their air defenses. But it's like playing whack-a-mole. Cover one area, another becomes vulnerable. And Ukrainian drone technology keeps improving. Longer ranges, better accuracy, more sophisticated targeting systems. The December 17th strike on Slavyansk wasn't just another attack. It was a message. Russia can't protect everything. Ukraine can strike anywhere, and they will keep striking until the war ends. 3 weeks before this strike, Ukraine had hit the Afipsky refinery. Before that, the Tuapse facility. Before that, the Syzran refinery. The pattern is clear: sustained pressure on Russian energy infrastructure. And it's not stopping. Ukrainian officials have made it clear. As long as Russia continues its invasion, these strikes will continue. Every refinery, every oil depot, every fuel storage facility that supports the Russian military. The Slavyansk refinery strike shows why timing matters in warfare. Ukraine could have hit this facility months ago when it was still recovering. Instead, they waited. Let Russia invest in repairs. Let production ramp up. Let the tanks fill with refined product. Then they struck: maximum impact, maximum disruption, maximum cost to Russia. That's strategic thinking. That's patience combined with precision. That's how a smaller nation fights a larger adversary. So what happens next? Russia will try to repair the Slavyansk refinery. Again, they'll increase security. Again, they'll claim their defenses are impenetrable. Again. And Ukraine will watch, they'll wait. And when the time is right, when the target is valuable enough, they'll strike again. Because that's the reality of this conflict. Russia has oil. Ukraine has drones. And every time those drones find their targets, the economic equation shifts a little more. The flames that lit up Krasnodar on December 17th weren't just destroying a refinery. They were demonstrating a new kind of warfare. One where precision strikes on economic infrastructure can be as effective as traditional military campaigns. Russia thought distance would protect its refineries. Ukraine proved otherwise. Russia thought air defenses would stop the drones. Ukraine found the gaps. Russia thought it could keep fighting as long as the oil kept flowing. Ukraine is proving them wrong. One refinery at a time, one oil depot at a time, one successful strike at a time. The Slavyansk refinery is just one facility, but it's part of a larger picture, a strategic campaign to undermine Russia's ability to sustain its invasion, and that campaign is working. So here's the question for you. If you were planning Ukraine's next move, which target would you choose? What facility would hurt Russia's war effort the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see more stories about modern warfare and strategic operations, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. Because this war is far from over and every strike tells a new story. The flames in Krasnodar have been extinguished, but the message they sent is still burning bright. Russia can't protect everything. Ukraine won't stop striking. And in this war of attrition, every refinery that burns shifts the balance just a little bit more.